And so you can always ask questions, and just know that tonight we're having this training, but you can always reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to answer questions. If you're anything like me, you think of things 3 days later in the middle of the night, you wake up wishing you had asked that one question. So don't hesitate. Don't think of this as a one-time deal, but feel free to reach out with any questions as we go along. So again, my name is Nancy Williams. It's a pleasure to see all of you tonight. Some of you might see some familiar faces. Hello, hello, hello. So quickly to go through our PowerPoint here. I am sorry. There we go. Sorry. I'm having a little bit of stickiness with the keyboard, so I apologize. So I just want to go over the opportunities for school governance councils to participate in the principal selection process, which is one of the many responsibilities you will have as being a member of an SGC. So there are two opportunities for SGCs to be involved in the principal selection process. And on the screen is the first opportunity that you have. This is an opportunity when a school has an acting principal in place at the school, and the superintendent would like to get feedback and consultation from the SGC as to whether to appoint the school's acting principal to the position. The superintendent, no matter what the process, likes to hear from families, students, community members who play an active role in the district and guiding decisions. And so for this process, it's really important for the SGCs to have a chance to provide feedback. So the consultation for this particular opportunity will include an interview of the acting principal by the School Governance Council. The Office of Talent Management, otherwise known as OTM, will work with the School Governance Council's parent legal guardian chair to schedule a date for the interview. If the school has a professional advisory board and a member from that board is not on the SGC, a representative from that advisory board will be invited to attend the SGC interview in an advisory role. In preparation for that interview, OTM will provide the School Governance Council with 2 interview questions that have been developed by central office, and the SGC will have the opportunity to develop 2 additional questions specific to the context of the school, wanting to learn more about a candidate in regards to the particular theme that you may have at your school. That's a very common question that a lot of our SGCs want to ask about is the candidate's knowledge with that theme, what they see for the future, that kind of stuff. So to assist in the development of the interview questions, we provide the sample interview questions that we have, and we have them by subject. The SGC can create brand new questions, can combine some of the sample questions. It's up to them to decide what questions they'd like to ask, but they, as an SGC, have the opportunity to create 2 of the 4 interview questions. Then during the interview, each member of the SGC scores the acting principal's answers to the 4 questions using a rubric. And at the end of the interview, the scores are recorded and tallied by a representative from OTM. It may be me, and maybe some of my colleagues that you met earlier tonight. All of this information will be forwarded to the superintendent for her review, and she will then have the final interview with the acting principal, taking into consideration the feedback that was provided by the SGC. And the knowledge that she has readily available. And then she will make the final decision about who will be the final appointment to the principal position at that particular school. All right, I'm trying to be patient. There we go. The other option for school governance councils to participate in the principal selection process is when the school does not have, the principal decides that they're retiring, they're going to be leaving for another opportunity or for professional growth within the district, and there hasn't been an acting principal participating in that role. So it's a true vacancy. So a posting for that role will be created and advertised. Candidates will be cultivated by the recruitment team, and candidates who apply to the principal position will be reviewed and or interviewed by the central office screening panel, which is made up of central office and school-based administrators. So principals, executive directors of school leadership, some of our senior cabinet members also participate. The candidates who advance through the central office screening are then invited to interview with the School Governance Council. So as that process is going on in the central office, an OTM representative will connect with the SGC parent legal guardian chair to schedule interview dates. Sometimes it's more than one date. Sometimes we're able to have the interviews on one evening or late afternoon. It depends on how many candidates we're going to have. And I always stress it's quality over quantity, but you want to have a different candidates so that way you can see the glows and grows from the different candidates as well to make an informed feedback, to provide informed feedback, I should say. So the SGC chair will then connect with the SGC membership and confirm the interview days that works best for the council, and then get back to the OTM representative. So then again, OTM will provide the SGC with our 2 questions that are created by central office, and then the SGC will have the opportunity to create 2 additional questions, again, using our samples as a reference point, or creating them from scratch, whatever works best. Then on the day of the interview, you'll have the opportunity to interview the candidates. And one thing I also want to share is that, again, if your school has an advisory board and none of the advisory board members are on the SGC, one of the membership from that board could play an advisory role for the interview for your candidates. So once all of that is done, the SGC will interview the screened candidates, provide glows and grows, and feedback along with scores for the superintendent. The superintendent will then take that information, review it, and then schedule interviews with the finalists, and then she will make her final decision for the principal position. I haven't been taking a look at the chat. Oh, great question. What does OTM stand for? OTM stands for Office of Talent Management. So it's a fancy way of saying human resources. So process guidelines. With both opportunities, the Executive Director of School Leadership, the Office of Talent Management designee, and the School Governance Council, the parent legal guardian chair, will facilitate the principal interview with the SGC. These candidates will be allowed 30 minutes to interview with the SGC and answer those 4 questions. And we keep tabs on the time and make sure that the candidate is aware of how much time they have left, so that way they can monitor their answers to ensure they have enough time to answer questions. And then only members who have been trained, such as this evening's training, are able to serve on the interview committee. So if there is an SGC member who unfortunately was not able to attend tonight's training, usually we set up additional trainings. If the school is going through the process, and we try to work with everyone's schedule. We know people have competing schedules, so we try to make sure that everyone does get trained. But if there is an instance where there is an SGC member who is just not able to attend or participate, we not allow that person to be a participant in the selection process. So with either of these opportunities, whether you have an acting principal that you're considering, or whether we're considering we have a true vacancy for a principal position and we're considering various candidates, on the day of the interview, OTM will provide the SGC with the 4 interview questions, including the 2 that were developed by the SGC, and a rubric to use during the interview. Capture your feedback, your notes, evidence that has been shared by the candidate. And before the interviews begin, a representative from OTM will ask each of the members of the SGC to sign a confidentiality agreement attesting that they will not share any information with people outside of the SGC. So this is a confidentiality agreement to ensure that we're not sharing anyone's information. If you're approached by other parents who are inquiring about what the selection process looks like, who applied, you're not allowed to share that information. And unfortunately, you're not even allowed to share that information with SGC members who have not been trained and gone through the process as well. So that way we can maintain confidentiality and professionalism as we go through this process, so that all of our candidates have an equitable experience while they go through the selection process. Once that is done, you will then receive the candidates' resumes and also review the 4 interview questions and scoring rubric, just make sure if there are any questions or clarifying comments that people have, that's an opportunity for you to share. And usually what we'd like to do is have the questions asked by members of the SGC. Then during the interviews, each member of the SGC scores the candidates, provides the feedback on their rubric, and then that information, the scores, is tallied by a representative from OTM. Continuing with the interview process, after the interviews have concluded, the scores are tallied, the school governance council and the advisory board representative, if applicable, provides areas of strength and growth for each candidate. And then this information is recorded by the Office of Talent Management representative. And then at this point, the scores and feedback will be forwarded to the superintendent for her review. Usually what happens is the superintendent coordinates with the deputy superintendent to review all the information, make sure there isn't anything that's outstanding or that they would like to find out some more information on. And then the superintendent will, in consultation, determine which candidate to interview one-on-one. So then once that's determined, the invitations are sent to those candidates. The superintendent, sometimes she has the deputy superintendent or the chief of schools in those interviews, will interview the finalists. And after all that, she will review all the information and then make a decision on the finalist for the position of principal for that particular school. Once that is finalized, that information will then be shared with the OTM representative, who will then connect with the SGC chair and its membership to let them know of who the finalist is going to be, and any next steps that need to take place, whether that be that start date, or if there's going to be any introductions. Sometimes there's an introduction for the opportunity for them to welcome the new incoming principal along with the Board of Ed members.
Olive?
So to ensure that this process is smooth, we want to make sure that there's clear communication throughout the process. So all communication regarding this process and any procedures must be initiated by the Office of Talent Management. Any questions regarding the process and procedures should be directed to the SGC chair and OTM. And during the interview process, the SGC sessions are considered executive level search committee meetings. So they are not open to the public. Only matters related to the principal interview process may be discussed during these sessions. So if you have regular business that you usually would discuss, it cannot be put on the agenda during these executive level sessions. All individuals involved in the principal interview process will sign an agreement to maintain confidentiality, which I had mentioned earlier, and make sure that any information is not shared with anyone outside of the process. And any violation of this confidentiality will result in disqualification of a team member. So if the process had already completed and we found out that there had been some breach in confidentiality, this may prevent you from serving on any future selection team or principal. So just bear that with you. And that is the conclusion of the slides. If there are any questions, and I can stop sharing.
Any other questions from anybody in the? I know, and I don't, Nancy, I'm just gonna say like one question that has been asked to me before. It's, the questions that the SGC generates. Some people have asked me like, what can we ask? Rosai's over here like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's as long as they're lawful, you are able to ask pretty much anything. And what we've done over the years is, as we've seen other questions come up, we put those on the samples that we provide, just so that way you have a sense of what other schools have done previously. But I would say, like I said during the slide deck, that a lot of times it's really the focus on the theme, ensuring that there is fidelity to the theme of the school. That's one of the biggest things. And also, I would say communication and engagement of students, families, and community. And then also, I would also say support for teachers as well. Those are probably like the three biggest areas. I mean, any of my colleagues can recall off the top of their head. Janet, you've been along with me on this ride since day one. So yeah, if you have any other thoughts, but those are really the 3 areas, but we've got probably like 6 or 7 topics and a slew of questions for each. And a lot of times what happens is the SGCs decide that some of the questions are tied together. So they ask a question that may have a couple of different components to it, but that's tied together. So it's one question. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question, but feel free to raise your hand or come off mute if there's anything more I can provide about that particular question.
I don't see any hands or anybody coming off mute. Thank you, Nancy. Your presentation was very thorough and
Sure. And like I said, if you have any questions or you think of something in a few days, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm just going to put my email in the chat so you have it, and feel free to reach out. Happy to chat with you or email, whatever works best.
yes, please reach out. And if you hear that, you know, if you happen to hear that your school is going to go through the process, you can reach out to Nancy, reach out to myself. I'll get the answer from Nancy. We do work a lot together because I have to ensure that the SGC is part of the process and that everybody's in place. But thank you all so much for your time today. If you didn't put your name in the chat, please, I'm gonna leave the Zoom open a couple more minutes so you can put your name in the chat. So that way you can say, hey, I already went through the process. I don't have to go through the first 30 minutes of the meeting today. I'll go eat something and then come back. If not, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is being recorded. It's going to be posted on the website along with the slides that we saw tonight. We're going to be sending them out to all of you and all of the SGC members across the district. And if you have any questions about anything else, SGC or non-SGC, please let me know. I'm here to help you all. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thanks, Viviana. Thanks for everyone for coming together.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.